Hi friends, my name's Brittany from Brittany Loves Reading, and for today we're going to dive into some of my 5-star reads that have characters' names in the title. You may wonder why I'm doing this recommendations video, and that is because this is a sightseeing prompt for the upcoming Amazing Readathon. So if you are looking for something to get those extra bonus points while you're waiting for a new leg to drop, these are some fabulous options. But I could also see this being a prompt in another Readathon at some point. I even think there's a buzzword this year with this prompt. So I think it's apropos that we dive in and see what 5-star reads I have given that have character names in the title. The first book we're going to talk about today is A Man Called Uwe by Fredrik Backman. Fredrik Backman is one of my favorite authors of all time. I absolutely adore Fredrik Backman, and this is one of my favorite Fredrik Backman books. Uwe is this cranky older man. He's not super old. He's in about his 60s at the time of this book, and he is very grumpy, and he is very annoyed by the changes in the world and by the people who live on his street, and he just wants to kind of be left alone. He misses his wife. His wife has passed away, and he was really just so in love with his wife that he doesn't really know how to go on in a world without her. One of the neighbors who recently moves in, she actually moves in at the start of this book, her and her husband and their 2 daughters, and she is also pregnant, take it upon themselves to insert themselves into Uwe's life and to make him a part of their family. And he makes it very hard for them to do so. He does not make it easy, but they do it anyway. There's moments of happiness. There's moments of sadness. There's moments that your heart will be ripped from your body. But this book is absolutely gorgeous. And if you have not read it, please do. If you have not watched the Tom Hanks movie about this book, after you read it, please do. The movie is fabulous. Then we have Strange the Dreamer by Lonnie Taylor. I absolutely adore this duology by Lonnie Taylor. And you may think, are you sure this has a name in the title? And yes, Strange is the name of our main character. Laszlo Strange. It is the last name. It has been a few years since I read this book, but I still think about it very, very often. Laszlo is a junior librarian, and he is also an orphan, and he has spent his life in the library trying to learn about this ancient civilization that nobody really knows about. They know that it is past the desert, but no one has really ever gone past the desert. Then one day, a group of warriors come to Laszlo's city, and they are from this mythical city of Weep, and they are trying to get people to come and help them with a problem that they are having. Laszlo is not chosen to go immediately. He is a junior librarian. No one really looks at him, but the warrior finds out that Laszlo has all this information, knows their language, has been studying about Weep for years. And eventually Laszlo does get to go, and it takes Laszlo on an amazing, amazing journey. Lonnie Taylor's writing is absolutely so beautiful, so lyrical. I think about it often, and this is definitely one of my favorite fantasy books ever. I know, high praise. Then we have the Brown Sisters Trilogy by Talia Hibbert. All 3 books would work for this. We have Get a Life, Chloe Brown, Take a Hint, Danny Brown, and Act Your Age, Eve Brown. All of them have a Brown sister in the title. My favorite of the 3 is definitely Danny, but I do adore all of the Brown sisters and absolutely love following their romances. Talia Hibbert does a really good job of adding some heavier topics to her books while also keeping them being a rom-com. And we always have a touch of either mental health rep or physical health rep in these books, which is also so lovely to see. And I think Talia Hibbert does it so well. This one may surprise you because it is somewhat historical, and I don't read a lot of historical books, but I do love the book Hamlet. Hamlet by Maggie O'Farrell is a historical fiction that follows a fictionalized version of Shakespeare and his family. We see at the start of the book young twins, Hamlet and Judith, and they are ill. Hamlet is very, very ill, and Hamlet does end up passing away very early in this book. We see his family mourn his loss, his mother mourning him, his father pulling away from the family and writing a play called Hamlet. And we see how potentially the loss of his son did influence the play Hamlet. I think the reason I love this so much was the Shakespearean vibes, as well as the fact that it had a retelling-like aspect. It wasn't a retelling, it was more like a prequel to explain the play, but that was enough to give me those retelling vibes that I do love from a retelling, and why this was probably on my best books of the year. Then we have a book that I just recently read, and that is Athena's Child by Hannah Lynn. I only read this like 3 days ago, so I'm happy to add it to this list. Obviously, the character is Athena, and in this book, we follow the story of Medusa and Perseus. This is super short. It's only a 5-hour audiobook, so really easy to get done fairly quickly. And I felt like the Greek mythology was very easy to follow. If you don't know the story of Medusa and Perseus, you are not going to be lost. Hannah Lynn really does lay it out in a way that makes it very digestible for most people. Also, the writing style of this really worked for me. It was very lyrical. You'll notice I use that a lot with these books. A lot of my favorite books have kind of that lyrical, flowery writing. And if you loved Song of Achilles, I think you would love this as well. However, if you found Song of Achilles a little bit dense, I still think you might like this because Hannah Lynn really did make the story very easy to follow, even for those who maybe don't know the Greek mythology. Well, it would be wrong not to have something Peter Pan on this list, so let's add Wendy Darling by A.C. Weiss. This is a book that takes place after the original Peter Pan, where Wendy is now an adult. She is back in London. She has gotten married. She's raising her daughter Jane. And all of a sudden, Peter Pan comes in the night and takes her daughter Jane to Neverland. Wendy remembers a lot of things about Neverland, and maybe they aren't as picture perfect as the Disney story has told us. And she flies herself to Neverland because she remembers how to fly. And she goes there to save her daughter Jane. This is a feminist retelling of Peter Pan. I absolutely adore this series. There are 2 books in the series, Wendy Darling and Hooked. And the first one definitely works for the character being in the title of our dear, lovely Wendy. Then we have the Bright Falls trilogy. All 3 books also would count. The one that I love the most is Astrid Parker. I haven't read Iris Kelly yet, so I need to get to that. But I do also love Delilah, so I don't think you can go wrong with any of these books. In the first book, we follow Delilah Green. Delilah Green is coming home to her town for her sister's wedding. She and her stepsister and her stepmother do not necessarily get along. She ends up finding her sister's best friend, Claire, who is a single mom, quite attractive, and they start a romance. In the second book, we follow the sister Astrid. I won't go too much into that because it may spoil some things that happen in Delilah Green, but I absolutely loved Astrid Parker. I loved Delilah and Claire, and I'm sure I will love Iris when I read it because I loved Iris in the first 2 books, so I have high expectations. But that is all the books that I have for you today with characters' names in the title. If you have some recommendations for books that have characters' names in the title, please let me know down in the description box. I love when everybody gives suggestions because not only are they suggestions that I can look at, but anybody who's looking for a book that fits those kinds of prompts can read these suggestions in the comments too and maybe get some more recommendations down below. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, friends.